everybody to Geekvice, not gaming, Geekvice, episode 203. I've been recording a lot of Geekvice gaming episodes, which is why I immediately went to that. But this is Geekvice, episode 203, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph. That man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
Yeah. Geekvice Gaming is still alive, and if you guys are watching on YouTube, you will notice that there are 2 episodes a week going up there, and there might be more because I'm like 13 episodes ahead and recording more weekly. So, I really like the game. I really like this XCOM 2 game, and so I'm playing it a lot, which means I have a lot of episodes to put up. So, I don't know, maybe by February, I'm putting a new episode up each day. I don't know, we'll see.
That's a lot of video gaming.
That's a lot of video gaming, and, I found out that if me staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday, Saturday morning or Sunday morning really isn't that big of a deal, and I can get a lot of video gaming in, so...
Nice.
So we got that going for us. Other announcements that we've got, I first need to give a shout out to Dale Steinhoefel, I think is how you pronounce his name. I apologize, Dale, if I screwed up your last name. But he is, he works at or owns, I'm not really sure. He's a friend of Billy's from Underground Inc., and he's at Squarehead Creative. And he created our new logo, which you can see, like, if you're watching the video, it's, like, right down there. And if you are listening to it, it could be the thumbnail. I don't know. Do you put those on the thumbnail so it shows up when people are listening to the podcast?
Yeah, on iTunes you will see a thumbnail.
There you go. So on iTunes you'll see it there. New logo, created by Squarehead Creative, Dale over there. You can find them. Go check them out because they're really kind of cool, and they're, at least the image when you do, like, type in their website is really cool, because it's like almost like a Cthulhu type look. I really like it. But go check them out at shcomaha.com, or you can find them on Facebook at facebook.com/squareheadcreative. Very cool stuff, and I like what they've done with our logo right there. I think it's cool. I like it, and it sticks out a lot more than the other one, so it pops a lot more.
Yeah, since we both wear glasses, I'm not sure which one of us is the model for that.
Yeah, it could be either one. But I mean, I like it, especially considering we've never actually met Dale, so I'm sure this is a brainchild of his, and I'm sure Billy had some input because it's Billy. And if you haven't listened to anything from Billy, check out Daydream Instruction Manual and check out Underground Inc. And Billy is a funny dude and very creative in his own way. So, yeah.
Well, he is a rock musician, so creative. He's all about it.
Yeah, exactly. Way more creative than either of us. So,
put together.
True that. Also, has Holly started recording any more episodes yet?
No.
I'm just gonna take it off my list.
No doubt. Well, we'll just keep shaming her until she records an episode.
Yeah, that's right. Everybody go find her on Instagram and Twitter and just hound the crap out of her. Just because it's fun. Why not? Yeah, that's all I got really announcement wise. You got any announcements? You got anything?
I'd like to announce that I'm very sore, but that's only because the workouts have been tough.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Did you like work out constantly during like over the Christmas holiday type
No, and that's why I'm sore now.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Amber kind of did the same thing. Like when that first couple of days she went back, and this week was one of those weeks where she yesterday she's like, this was brutal, and she's still sore today, um, after all her stuff from yesterday. So yeah, yeah, it's always good. Um,
That's how you know you're alive, just having sore muscles.
right, right. So the first thing on the agenda is we don't talk sports here very much, but we do talk about my kids. So we're going to do a combination of professional sports and my kids. So if you don't know, this last weekend was the first round of the NFL playoffs. And if you're watching on the video, you can see right above my head, I'm kind of a big Chiefs fan. Kind of
No.
like that's on the wall, painted by hand, along with the sun that's like right there. See, that's the sun in my room.
You know what? I always just thought that was a light glare. That's pretty bad.
No, it is a light glare.
Okay.
But in the video, it looks like a sun, and I kind of
It
feel like
does.
it kind of looks
Yeah,
cool
as soon
because
as
I
you
can like
said that, I was like,
touch it.
holy cow, I've been wrong this whole time.
I can touch the sun. Just watch out. It's hard to do backwards on the.
Higher. There you go. No, there it is.
Uh, too much fun with the video. Um, but so we watched the Chiefs game, and if you didn't watch any of that stuff, then you don't know. But the Chiefs have a history of blowing playoff games. They haven't won a playoff game since I want to say 94 or 97. I think it's
Now they won one a
well, that's right.
couple of years ago.
A couple years ago, they won one in Houston, against a really shitty Houston team that shouldn't have even made the playoffs. I don't really count. So they've won. The stat is they've won once in the last 11 playoff games. They've won one.
And they set an NFL record of 6 consecutive home playoff losses.
Yep.
Never happened before.
Right. This weekend was the 6th loss at home in the playoffs. We're just cursed. I mean, we have a curse. It is just like the Chicago Cubs curse, or the Boston Red Sox beating the Yankees curse. You know, all this stuff. All these curses have been out there. So the Chiefs will break this curse eventually when a new stadium is built or something like that.
Well, we need to think about this curse thing though, because with Chicago, wasn't there curse because of the goat or something that kicked over?
Yeah, yeah.
And then the Boston one was Curse of the Bambino because they traded Babe Ruth away to the Yankees. So what did Kansas City do to upset the NFL gods?
The rumor is, when they fired Hank Stram, who won the only Super Bowl the Chiefs have won, he was the coach back then in 1970. It was the 1969 season, but it was January of 1970 that the Super Bowl was played. His Super Bowl number 3, the Chiefs against Minnesota Vikings. Hank Stram won that game. That's the big. You've probably heard, if you follow football, you've heard the saying of matriculating down the field. That was Hank Stram that kind of came up with that, or that's what he used a lot. And when he got fired shortly, I want to say it was probably, was it mid-70s? The rumor is that he cursed the Chiefs, basically said that you're never going to win a playoff game. You're never going to win again because they were firing him. He didn't leave on good terms. Let's put it that way. And sure enough, we have not won a Super Bowl since Hank Stram's been fired. We have made it in the 90s under Marty Schottenheimer. We made it to a lot of AFC Championship games. We played the Bills a ton, but we're never able to beat them for one reason or the other. One of them, the most memorable one of those to me, was Joe Montana getting knocked out of a game, of the AFC Championship game,
Against the
concussion.
Buffalo Bills?
Yeah, against the Buffalo Bills. Got his bell rung and couldn't come back. And it wasn't like that was before concussions were actually a thing. So it was, you can only imagine how bad that was. Couldn't come back, and that was I believe that was the last year that the Bills went to the Super Bowl. And against the Cowboys, and just got slaughtered by the Cowboys. So, there's been all kinds of things. We've had Chiefs versus Colts at home, where Lynn Elliott, kicker for the Chiefs, missed 4 field goals in the game. One of them being with 4 seconds left, and we lost the game by 1 or 2.
Yeah, that was a boring game too.
Yeah, we had the Colts game just a few years ago against Andrew Luck, where Andrew Luck, the Chiefs were up huge at halftime, and then decided they were going to stop playing football, and the Colts ended up coming back, and Andrew Luck fumbled the ball on a quarterback draw type thing. Fumbles the ball, it bounces off his own offensive lineman's helmet, back into Andrew Luck's arm, and he runs it into the end zone. That stuff just isn't supposed to happen.
Well, a similar thing just happened.
Yesterday was Marcus Mariota throwing a pass that gets deflected by Darrelle Revis back into the hands of Marcus Mariota, who then runs it into the end zone, which hasn't happened since Brad Johnson did it. So there has just been things after things. Indianapolis Colts actually played a game where they never punted. That was a playoff game where they actually did not punt the ball the entire game. That's the first time that had ever happened. There's been just continuous things. So me, as a longtime Chiefs fan, losing this game was just another game, another playoff loss. Chalked it up, not that big of a deal to me. But for my kids, that is where it becomes a little more complicated. My kids are 8 and 5. They don't have long-term memories. They have very short-term memories. To them, the Chiefs have only lost. They've only lost 3 of 4. Maybe even not that much. They just don't remember that much, and so this loss, with us winning, we were winning 21-3 at halftime, and watching the Tennessee Titans come back and score touchdown after touchdown after field goal, or field goal after touchdown, whatever. That when the game was over, Conley, my youngest one, who's 5, seemed to be okay. We left our neighbor's house, we came home, started getting ready for bed so we could watch the next game, and he didn't seem to be too upset. Reese, my older one, who's 8, he was a little more upset. He wasn't quite crying, but it was close. This hurt him. It hurt bad. But then, as we're getting ready to watch the next game, I can't remember who was playing in that one. It was the NFC game, whatever it was. Well, as we were getting ready, I was trying to find that on. I heard Conley crying upstairs in his room, and I went up to ask what was wrong, and he's like, I just wanted the Chiefs to win. And I was just like, oh, poor kid, dude. Poor kid. This is going to hurt for a long time. Because I remember being, youth, and you probably remember too. You get emotionally attached to teams when you're young. You think that things that you do have an impact on them, when in reality they have none. Um, but you treat them as if you're on the team, and so you want them to win, and when they don't, you get upset. And so I just thought it was funny. I spent quite a while. It was probably a good 30, 45 minutes, maybe even an hour, just consoling my two kids that were just sobbing because of this loss. And I'm like, you know what? I remember being at this point, and this will fade, boys. This will fade. You will become a jaded sports fan like your dad that enjoys a lot of teams that are mediocre and have some good moments that are really good, and then they have a lot of bad moments where you just go, yeah, maybe next year.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, the outcome of a game could really spoil my mood. And then one day I realized whether my favorite sports ball team wins or not, I still have to go to work on Monday. I still have to do what I normally do. It has zero effect on me whatsoever. But it took a very long time to get there.
Yeah, yeah, it does, and I just thought it was funny because it's like, for the longest time it never really. I mean, I've been jaded for a while. Like, I was at some of those games in the '90s in the playoffs where the Chiefs lost, and I remember just everybody walking out of the stadium dejected, but you're all just like, you know what? Hey, maybe next year. And so you just you learn to get over it a lot quicker. And just seeing the boys distraught as they were, and I just thought it was it's like it just bring back that innocence of youth and of
Yeah.
kids. And
Thing is I don't think it goes away for everybody though,
yeah,
because I didn't watch the game. I haven't watched a Chiefs game in a few years. And I happened to be on my phone. Went to ESPN. It's like, holy shit, they lost that game. So turned on the TV to the news, and it had the same feeling as a funeral.
yeah,
I mean, it was crazy. It was like, wow, it's like somebody died.
yeah.
Yeah, it was. So people at the news station, they haven't gotten to that point where they can get over it real easy.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. It takes a little bit, but I think life is better if you can kind of learn to separate yourself a little bit, because living with the ups and downs, and maybe it's even just me being a Kansas City, native my entire life. I was raised in the Kansas City area, so I was raised a Royals fan. I went through the good times in the '80s, and then the bad times all the way up until a couple years ago. I've been through the Chiefs, which the Chiefs have been a good team for a long time. They had a few bad years in there. They've been a playoff team for a very long time. They just don't win very much in the playoffs. It's hard for them to do that. And so, like, you just get used to losing in the playoffs. I'm also a fan of the Houston Rockets basketball team when I followed the NBA a lot. Um, yeah, they were good for a small stretch, and then
Yeah.
just kind of mediocre the rest of the time. So it's I think some of that just helps cover for me, so I don't get as upset. But I just thought it was funny. So that's all I got on sports. Maybe at some point I'll have a whole episode on sports, but that'll be down the road sometime. Once soccer season starts back up, how about that? Because this guy likes soccer. That guy over there, right there, I can't poke through the screen, but that guy over there, not so much.
Nope, not so much.
Maybe this year, though, just a one quick soccer note. Sporting Kansas City, all their home games this year are on. There's one on Friday, 10 on Saturday, and 6 on Sunday. They're all weekend games. It's the first time since they moved to their new stadium that they have had all weekend home games, which is huge because that means this guy gets to go to a lot more of them.
Sadly, I was on the design team that designed that stadium. Never been to it.
Maybe this year we'll go. How about that?
Maybe. Maybe.
I'll just grab you and you can come with me. So, okay, enough sports. Let's get into the real meat of this, board games. Board games are awesome. Go, Kip. You've got this challenge that you're going to try to do, a 10 by 10 game challenge from Board Game Geek. Is that who started this?
Yeah, I think it was. That's the first place I saw it. And this is the first year that I'm actually doing it, and not doing it fully to the rules. So anybody's played a board game with me is not surprised that I'm not completely following the rules.
Right.
But I game a lot with Jason, and we're like, you pick 5 and I'll pick 5, and we'll make that our 10 by 10 challenge.
Hey, that's fair, because if you guys are both playing, if you're both playing each of your 5, then that's really 10 games, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, that works. You got to have somebody to play with.
Exactly, and since we game together most of the time anyway, it just made sense.
Yeah. So what is the 10 by 10 challenge? What are the actual rules to this thing?
The actual rules are very simple. You pick 10 games that you want to play 10 times each. So basically 100 gameplays.
There you go. So 100 gameplays. And what is there like a idea behind it? Like, yeah, I know I read somewhere that, like, if you play a game a certain amount of, like, you play it once and you kind of get an idea for it, but you don't truly understand the mechanics of the game until you've played it a certain number of times. Is that kind of the idea?
That is, and that's the whole reason I wanted to do it this time. And the games I chose were like Scythe, Viticulture, so there's some worker placement in there, a co-op game, which I'm going to talk about, Shadows over Camelot. Some games that I feel like I play them once, and by the time the game's over, you're like, man, I'm starting to kind of figure out some strategy, but then, maybe a month or two goes by before you play it again, and you're like back to square one. So it's going to be nice to play these things through and get to the point where there's that certain level of comfort where you can start. You're not worried about remembering the rules as much as you are about just playing the game now that you got them down.
Right, okay.
So that's the big thing. And the game I want to talk about is Shadows over Camelot. And the whole reason I chose that game to be on the list is it's a cooperative game. And just like a Battlestar Galactica, there is a what do they call it in this one? Dang it, I hate it when the word just appears out of your head.
Trader?
Like a trader. I think it is a trader, as a matter of fact. So, but they recommend, if you're new to the game, to play without them.
Okay.
So I've only played the game a handful of times sporadically. So I've never got to play with the trader involved. So I'm hoping with the 10 plays, we can get familiar enough with it whether we can introduce this part of the game and see how that goes. Because we played it last week, and without a trader, the game was still pretty tough. It is cooperative, but it's pretty tough. And so the basis of the game is, I guess I should tell you, it's a Days of Wonder game. Came out in 2005. If you're watching the video, box looks like this. It's designed by Serge Leggett and Bruno Cathala. If that means anything to you, probably does to those guys. But anyway, it's a cooperative game where you play one of the Knights of the Round Table. You can be King Arthur, you can be Lancelot, you can be whoever all the other ones are. Honestly, starting this game, I didn't know most of the Knights of the Round Table's names. I hate to admit it. But can you name all of them?
No.
There you go. I couldn't either.
I can name Gawain, Lancelot, Arthur. Guinevere was at one point.
She's actually a bad character in the game.
Is she really?
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh
I
man,
could tell you here
I used
because
to be able. That's only 4. I used to be able to name a lot more of them.
they have Sir Kay,
Ah,
Sir Palamedes, Sir Galahad, Sir Tristan,
that's right.
King Arthur, Sir Gawain, and Sir Percival.
Percival, I forgot about. How could I forget Percival?
I don't know, but you did.
Ah,
That's that's just happens.
yeah.
But anyway, so like I said, it's cooperative with the twist of the traitor. Let's see. Yep, it's even called traitor on the card.
There you go.
Just like every cooperative game you've played, there's a bad thing that happens on your turn, and then the good stuff that you could do to help win the game. Shadows over Camelot takes the bad part of the game and puts a twist to it that no other co-op game I've played has, and that is there are 3 things you get to choose from. One of them is draw one of the cards from the black deck, which is always a bad thing. One is to put out a siege engine, and one is just to sacrifice yourself and lose a hit point. A life point or whatever it's called, life points in this game. You only get 4 to start with, so it is a serious sacrifice to do that. So it's kind of, to kind of go with the whole Knights of the Round Table theme, you can choose to just be totally, I'll take one for the team and lose a life point.
Sure.
That's pretty cool. So you have some decisions to make even when you're doing the bad part for the game. Just like all cooperative games, there's more ways to lose than there are to win. The only way to win is you go out to these quests that are part of the game, and you earn swords. The swords, there's white and black. So if you fail the quest, black swords get added to the round table. If you win the quest, white swords get added to the table. There's 12 spots. Once 7 black swords get put on the table, you lose, because that's majority of the 12.
Right. Okay.
The only way you can win with the white swords is completely fill the table with white and black and have 7 or more white swords. So even if you've made it to 7 white swords, you still have to finish the quest to fill the table.
Sure. Okay.
So even though you win, you still have to play it through to fill the table, which means the other ways you could lose can still come into play. Like I said, one of the choices you can make is adding a siege engine to Camelot. Well, once you've added the 12th one, you lose. Ooh. And you can do some combat to remove siege engines, but there's 12 spots on the board. Once all 12 are filled, you lose. So you got to keep track of that. and another way to lose is if all the knights are just killed. So even though you've got the swords necessary, but there's still empty spots on the table, you could still end up losing the game. So they make it very tough to win this game. All the quests are they fit the story.
Sure.
Like one of them is Hunt for the Holy Grail.
Nice.
There's cards that have the Holy Grail icon on it. You place those cards. You completely have to fill up the track with the Grail to win that quest. You win that quest, you get the nice little Grail miniature. And the person who won it gets to keep it. It comes in handy because if somebody dies, you can once during the game, only if you possess the Grail, let that person drink from them and bring them back to full health. But nice. Once this happens once,
it's gone.
The Grail is taken out of the game and it's gone. There are cards that you draw from the black deck that also fill up the Grail. They're like despair cards and Black Forest card and all this. And once the black ones fill the track completely full, you lose the quest.
Oh.
And for this one, if you win the quest, you get 3 white swords, 7 white cards, which is one of the good things you can do, and you get to add 1 of your health points back. If you lose, you add 3 black swords to the table, and you lose a life point. So winning the quest is pretty important, as you can tell just on this one.
Yeah.
Other ones are like you go on the quest for Lancelot's armor, which helps. What does Lancelot's armor do? Anytime you draw a black card, draw 2 instead, and pick one, and put the other one at the bottom of the draw pile.
That could be helpful.
That helps. And then the other one is you fight for Excalibur. And if you happen to be the one that gets that, you get +1 to your combat, which is nice. But each one of them is a special quest that takes cards to do certain things. Then there are what they call the perpetual quests that are on the main board. All these other ones are like expansion boards that you stick on the side. And they're like fight the Picts and Saxons, which if you lose, of course, black swords, all this other stuff. You win, white swords, all that. And once you win or lose that quest, you clear it, and you can go back to that quest again because those cards keep coming up. And what's cool about there's certain white cards that are called fight cards, and they have like values from 1 to 5. So like one of the quests, you have to have a full house. So you go there and you play a card, and you like play a pair of 2s and 3 3s for a full house. Well, then the black cards that get played there, you draw a black card that goes there, you have to play it there.
Mm-hmm.
Once you reach the full house, you add up all the values. So if you had 2 2 and 3 3s, that's 13. If the black cards values are higher than 13, you still lose the quest. So I'm telling you, there's lots of ways this game does it to you. So there's that. You got to be careful. But the cool thing about it is, and this is where the trader would come in, you can play the black cards face down. So nobody knows what the values are.
Right.
So if you're a trader, you can play all the high value, the 5-pointers and 7-pointers, because there are some 7-pointers with the black cards.
Wow.
And if you do that, then you get to draw one of the white cards, which is the good cards, for yourself. So I already mentioned what you do for the bad stuff with the game. The good stuff that you can do when it's the heroic phase of the game it's brutal because you can only choose one. So move to a new quest, that's your turn. You're done.
Wow. You
don't get to play cards. You don't get to do anything else. You're just done. So move to a new quest. Perform a heroic action, which is play one of the cards on the quests. Some of the white cards there are special cards. There's like one that's Merlin, where you can play it and just remove a siege engine without actual combat. So you could do that instead. Or you can discard 3 identical white cards to get 1 of your life points back. Or you can accuse one of the knights of being the traitor. Lots of good things you can do, but you only get to choose 1 per turn. And it gets a little frustrating when it's your turn, you just finished a quest, and you want to move on to another one that really needs the help. You move there, you're done.
Yeah.
You have to wait until your turn comes back around to be able to do the heroic action, which is play a card.
So with that kind of idea, and I'm sure this is where trying to play this thing 10 times to try to figure out the best kind of strategy to work from it. You're playing with what? Usually 3 to 4 people playing the game. Up to probably 6. How many people can play? Uh-oh.
Sorry, you kind of locked up there.
Oh,
You can play up to 7.
okay. So you can get 7 people playing this game. Is it best to try to have
Yep,
like?
you're locking up again.
Uh-oh. Is it best to try to have people go for one, like everyone go for one quest, or is it better to spread out and split it up amongst everybody?
Some of the quests, like the Lancelot's armor,
Mm-hmm.
is a solo quest. Only one knight can be on that quest.
Oh,
Other quests, you can have multiples. So, you kind of have to decide at that point who's best suited to go for the solo quest and who's best suited to help out other quests, who's better off staying at the round table and fighting the siege engines. So
gotcha.
you have to talk amongst yourselves, but you can't say like, I've got 5 cards. You can't do that, but you can say, I can help this quest or I can help this quest, but you can't give specifics. So it makes it kind of tough.
Cool.
So that's why I really want to get into this game. I think it's a different game every time you play.
Yeah.
So that part is intriguing in itself. And then throwing in the trader, I really want to see how that plays out. So I'm excited about it. I will give updates on how we're doing. The first time we played, we won. Never really felt like we were super close to losing. We got down to where if we would have had a series of bad luck, there would have been enough siege engines to beat us. So we got lucky a couple times. A couple of people got down to 1 life point left. So it got close, but I never really felt like we were in total danger of losing the game. Throw in the trader, we would have lost miserably. So I'm looking forward to that. So I
Yeah.
will keep us up to date on that.
So you said that's one of your 10 games. Do you have your list? What are your 10 games, or what are at
Oh,
least your 5 that you've picked up?
my 5. Good question. I have this fancy BG Stats app that I can
Nice.
bring it up. And I have Dead of Winter,
Okay.
Lords of Waterdeep,
Yeah.
Scythe,
Yeah.
Shadows over Camelot, and Viticulture.
Nice.
Those are my 5. And my 5 are not short games
Right. Yeah,
by any stretch of the imagination. And
you picked some pretty long ones in there.
I did. So we played last week. We got one of mine and one of Jason's in. So,
So what was Jason's that you got in?
oh, knew you were going to ask me that.
Well, yeah.
Well, luckily I have this BG Stats thing that I log in when I played.
So Jason, while
And
you're
I
looking
played
that up,
Splendor.
oh, okay, Splendor. That's one that I've actually been debating on getting, because it's one that I think the kids would be able to play, and I think they would enjoy it.
It's
Um,
a it's a really good game.
yeah, because I've played that one with you and Jason before, I think.
It's a funny game because once you start playing, nobody talks because you're so involved in what you've got to do.
Yeah.
The mix and matching and earning the gems may be a little over the head for your boys at this point, but I may be wrong. Your oldest son's pretty smart. He'd probably pick it up.
Yeah,
But
he's way smarter than I am.
yeah, so we figured it out. We played 2 games, and that's all the time we had for it. And at this pace, it will take us 50 weeks to play all 100. There's only 52 weeks in a year. So,
That's perfect. I
so we
mean,
can't miss any weeks,
yeah.
or we need to play a little bit longer and get maybe another game or 2 in. I don't know how we're going to do it.
Yeah.
I even said to Jason, maybe I should remove one of my games and put in, like Flapjacks and Sasquatches or something that goes really
Oh
fast.
man,
But he talked me into.
You could knock out 10 games of Flapjacks and Sasquatches in one sitting.
That's right. That's stacking the deck, baby. But
Yeah, it is.
We talked about it, decided to keep it as is, so hopefully that just causes us to play more games.
Yeah, well, make sure you don't miss your weeks, and well, and then you never know. I mean, with the ones Jason's picked out, I mean, because you could get a couple games of Splendor in, if you just played, Splendor one time,
Yeah.
you could get a couple of those in, a couple three maybe even in the time that you guys get to play. So yeah, that's pretty cool. You're gonna have to keep us up to date on that. When you had made the comment that you were doing this, I was kind of like, I wonder if I should try to do that with some of the games that me and the kids play. I don't know that I could go with 10 games 10 times each. I might start with just one game 10 times. I mean, we play a lot of games, but we don't quite play. We've kind of tapered off a little bit, just because we've been so busy. And then once we get into the summer months, we play even less because we're usually outside doing stuff. But yeah, I might have to pick one of the games and.
Yeah, 10 games 10 times each is tough because I went back and looked at, because I log every game I play.
Right.
And I looked back at 2017. I think I only had 112 gameplays the entire year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That would require a lot of focus. I mean,
it's going to require
a lot of
something
focus for you guys anyway. But with 10 games, you can kind of rotate around those 10. The one game that I've got here that's just actually sitting right over there, you can't see my hand, down there on my shelf, is I want to get some more gameplays of Battleship Galaxies. So, we've played it once, but I haven't really been able to get it back to the table with the other games we have and things like that. So, I really kind of want to get that one back to the table. So we'll have to see. Maybe I'll try to get that. Maybe I'll try to get 10 gameplays of Battleship Galaxies.
I hope you do, because that'd be more than I've played it, and I own the game.
Yeah. Well, you can't play it now, so.
Yeah.
It's down there.
That game was disappointing, because when it first came out, I bought it at Gen Con in 2011.
Yeah.
And we played it, and man, this game is awesome. I can't wait to see what they do with expansions and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then, later that year, they announced that they're not doing any expansions. That's it for the game. It's like, damn it.
Yeah.
This game could be so great. And
see, and that got me thinking, because even the rules kind of read like it could have some expansions to it, and I kind of want to talk to some of our gaming creative friends. We got a couple that we might know.
Looking at you, Bill. Looking at you.
Bill, John, could you guys throw have you played Battleship Galaxies, and could you come up with something, maybe some little expansion or whatever that we can just kind of, I mean, hell, I can print, we can print stuff and just make little paper things to put on there, or just to try it out, just to see what we could add to it to make that game just add a little bit more flair to it. So
now you're talking.
Yeah, we'll have to see what those guys can do. I know they still listen to this show, so, and we need to get. I actually need to reach out to those guys, because I'd like to get Bill back on after all the crap that he's been through over the last year or so. I've seen him. Him and I both play Marvel Puzzle Quest on our phones, and so since him and I are friends on there, he can send me little power-ups and stuff like that. And I've been sending stuff to him because I've been playing it. I play it quite a bit, and I've started getting a lot of stuff from him. So that means he's starting to play again, which means he might actually have some free time now. So
I think free time is a myth for him, but you never know.
Well, I know John has absolutely none, because he's got a little baby, little toddler at home now. So, along with his 70 kids. So, so yeah, John, I said it. I said it. What are you gonna do about it? Maybe you should
Oh
come on the
boy.
show and fight me. War of words. Let's go. So I'm gonna get dirty emails from them. I know it.
I hope so.
So you know what? That's pretty good. We're gonna have. I want to talk just a little bit about a game by John and Bill at Prolific Games called Tricked Out Hero. We've talked about it on this show a long ways back when it first came out. It was a Kickstarter thing, um, which which I think you and I both backed and ended up getting our copies of it. It's a lot of fun. Um, but the one part of it, I won't go into the full detail. I'll break that game down at a later episode. But what I wanted to talk about is the complexity. Sometimes trying to teach games that have kind of games within games type thing, and trying to explain those to somebody who's never done any of this. So, like I said before, I have an 8-year-old. He likes playing board games. He really liked the idea of playing Tricked Out Hero. He wanted to learn. Until I got the game out and tried to explain, yeah, it's like playing hearts or spades. The first part of the game is a trick-taking card game, and then from there, you collect, based off of the tricks that you collected, you get stats to go to your hero, your tricked out hero,
Hey, look what you did.
and then you use that to battle monsters, which is really cool. He liked the battling monsters part. He liked the character. He liked using the abilities and powers and rolling the dice to defeat the monsters. He thought that was fun. He really liked that part. But trying to explain how to play hearts or spades, that part of the Tricked Out Hero game, trying to explain that to somebody who has no idea what hearts or spades is, or what a trick is, or like the best way, since it was me, it was just the two of us. So the best way I could explain it was like, it's kind of like playing war, except it's not always the highest number that wins, and you don't get to play just any card that you want. You have to match suits, and the first person that plays the card dictates the suit that you have to play. Like, the look on his face when I was explaining that to him was like, Dad, I'll do this once for you because I like games, but I'm not doing this again. But once we got into playing it, and we played it different. We didn't play it secretively. I kept my cards secret, but I let him lay his cards out front, and I kind of walked him through like, okay, I played a spade. You have to play a spade if you have one. If you play a higher spade, you get it. If you play a lower spade, you don't. And here's what spades do for your hero, which spades are monster cards, which actually boost your monster, which you don't want to get. So it was kind of, we kind of had to walk through it, but we played it. We played through the whole first level of it. There's 3 levels of this game. We played through the first level, so, and he enjoyed it when he got done. But he was done. I think it was also there was a football game on. See which one was that one? Was it the Saints game? I think was on TV, and he was really into watching the Saints play, because that was a really intriguing. What was that, Saints Panthers? I think that was a really good football game. So he kind of got a little bit like, oh, Dad, let's stop playing this and watch this game because it's really good. Like, so, but he enjoyed it. So I think it's going to get back out to the table. Maybe that's one that I'll get a couple more gameplays on. But it's a game I don't play nearly enough. I really enjoy the game, and I've never actually played through all 3 levels. Usually because of time constraints and things like that. It's not a play over lunch type thing.
No, it's not at all.
Kind of hard to get through all 3 levels over lunch, but it's a lot of fun. So I just thought it was kind of fun because there's a lot. it was a funny experience trying to explain. It's one thing explaining how to play a game. It's another thing when the game uses a mechanic that comes from another game and having to try to explain that game. So you're like,
Yeah.
you know, it becomes a lot harder to go through and break down for somebody who's never heard of that other game. So.
Yeah, and it's, you bring up a good point, and that is, if you explain it to one of us, it's like, it's just like Hearts. You're like, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
And then that part of the game is taught.
Yeah.
Yes, but as somebody who does never play the Hearts game, it's like, yeah, I get it. I could see where it could be pretty complex.
Yeah.
I do love that game, though.
Yeah.
That's the first game I played the first time I met John and Bill. And it was at Gen Con 2011. And we played it one day. We played it on a Friday. And then Saturday morning got up and it's like, well, what do you want to do? And it's like, I want to go play some more of this Tricked Out Hero. We ended up playing for like 8 hours on the Saturday. That's all we did was we got there, we sat down, and we just played. And it was one of those games like, I can't wait for they put this on Kickstarter. I want to own this game. And I think they ended up being their second one. I got Flapjacks and Sasquatches. Not because I didn't want the game, but I just wanted them to succeed so they would get to the next game. Ended up loving Flapjacks and Sasquatches anyway, which is a bonus.
I want to say it was like the third Kickstarter.
Was it the third?
Because
because Hirelings.
Yeah,
that's true.
Which is, I think, the only Prolific Games game that I don't own. So I know our buddy Brad has it. I need to see if I can't borrow it for him, or I'll just go buy it. Or John and Bill, hey, send me a copy of Hirelings. If you got one,
I think your kids would like it. It's a good kids game.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a good game for us too. I enjoyed playing Hirelings. But yeah, they made it the third one to torture me because they knew I really wanted Tricked Out Hero. So
yeah, and it's that reminds me, I need to go look that up and see if I can't get that. And that might be a birthday, or I got a couple birthdays coming up. Might be a birthday present. Maybe. All right, enough of that stuff. I think we've gone on long enough. So, let's go back. I don't know. I need to read things. Like
stupid having to read. It's a podcast.
I know it. Like, before I get into the little closing thing, make sure you go check out Squarehead Creative. That's shcomaha.com or facebook.com/Squarehead Creative. Go check those guys out because they did an awesome job with our logo, and I really like our logo, so I hope you do too. So go check them out. Give them some love for throwing that our way. You can also go check our stuff out at geekvice.blogspot.com. You follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/geekvice, where I've got to get this logo posted. You can also follow us on Twitter, that man over there, at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at Geekvice. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, tiny.cc/geekvice. Good place to get notifications when these videos go live, and you can come chat with us in the chat room. And you also get notifications when the Geekvice gaming stuff goes up. Of course, you can always reach us by email. So, John, Bill, you can send your evil emails to me. And Jason, you should send us an email and let us know what your 5 games are in this 10x10 challenge for Kip over here. That's geekvice@gmail.com. Simple. Email us. Let us know what you think. Thanks, everyone, for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next week.
Later.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.